Well, hello, wealthy women. I have never been so excited to talk to my next guest or have an interview because it's going to be all about travel. And as you know, I am a big traveler. I love to travel, and many of us want to create these beautiful retreat packages as business owners, right? We want to evolve into this. I think many of us have this dream with our coaching or whatever our services are, that we would love to hold an in-person retreat in a beautiful location. And a lot of us just don't know where to get started or how to do that, right? But we're intrigued. Well, I have such a beautiful woman that is going to tell you. She has so much experience, and I won't talk all of it. I'm going to let her share with you her expertise and how she can help you to begin fulfilling that dream you have in your heart, to go to the next level with your business. And yes, so without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Dr. Dionne Greaves and her beautiful mission, her big why, her expertise, and all the things. So, Dionne, Dr. D, as they call you, go ahead and take it away.
Hey, ladies. Hey, beautiful ladies. I am Dr. Dionne Greaves, and I hail from the beautiful, breathtaking island of Barbados. Because I know somebody's going to be wondering, what accent is this? So, yes, I'm a Caribbean girl at heart. I'm from the beautiful, breathtaking island of Barbados, and I am a business lifestyle strategist. And one of the things that I do for my clients who are all high achieving women just like you is to help them create businesses that are in alignment with their faith, vision, values, and desired lifestyles. And I do this by helping them to create conferences, events, and luxury retreats that create transformation and provide so much value to their ideal dream clients. So that's a little bit about what I do on that side of things. I am also a wife. I'm a mom. I'm also a co-pastor in my husband's ministry. And guess what? I'm a speaker, an international best-selling author, and an event producer, executive producer as well, and podcaster. So I wear many, many, many hats, even though I'm not wearing one today. But yes, that's a little bit about me in a nutshell. But thank you so much, Tamara, for having me here with you today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And you just are very humble, because I want you to share a little bit about your background, your expertise, about, you know, you are a wealth of expertise in this area,
Mhm.
and there's a
Yes.
reason for that. So share a little bit about your background and how it all sort of led you to this path, and why this just fills you up and thrills you to make this your life's part of your life's work.
So I've been doing events for about 22 years now, right? And yes, I'm young, but I've been doing it for about 22 years. And this came after I would have been teaching in preschool. I enjoyed teaching in preschool, but I realized there was more that I wanted to do. And one of the things that I realized that I was good at was always putting things together. It could be a small gathering. So it started out with birthday parties, bridal parties, baby showers, everyday special occasions like that. And then I went into doing church work. So I would coordinate all the camps, the vacation Bible schools, retreats, any events the church was having fundraising. I would always be either leading the committee or part of the committee and doing a lot of things. And I realized I had this knack for events. And on top of that, because I had this thing, nurturing along the way, I learned how to do event planning. So I was about 18 when I actually went and got trained as an event planner, manager, and coordinator. And I started out doing weddings. So my husband and I would have launched then a wedding planning company back then in 2014. But then I moved into corporate and I realized, yes, weddings and stuff are nice, but this was not what I really wanted to do because I don't like the headaches of, the bride doesn't like this shade or this and that is
Yeah.
very too much. And so I ended up doing some corporate events for HP, which would be Hewlett Packard. I also did some events for a global telecommunications company as well. And I realized, I'm liking the feel of this corporate type of event. And so while I was in corporate for the last 5.5 years before I left corporate in 2022, I was actually responsible for curating country visits, which would require curating jet travel, private jet travel to different countries across the Caribbean, bringing most of the senior staff from Denver, Colorado, from Miami, all over the US into the Caribbean, and they're doing a multi-day country visit. And so it involved a lot of logistics and planning because it's not just coming to one island, they're island hopping. And most of the times they're doing 2 or 3 islands in a day. And so it was a lot of coordinating and logistics to make sure that everything went smoothly. And so part of my role was to organize travel, but also to arrange ground transportation, arrange for the meeting rooms and spaces that they would have, all of these types of things. Then I also had the opportunity to plan off-site meetings in other countries as well as retreats. And so I realized, you know what, this is something that I'm not only good at, but I love it. I absolutely love it. It was so easy for me because executives don't want a lot when it comes to that, right? They tell you what they want and you just get it done and they're happy. And so I loved it. And I realized, you know what? I could actually excel in this area. So in 2022, the Lord said to me, I want you to host a conference. And the funny thing about it, it was the end of January when he told me about hosting this conference. And he said, I want you to do it in March. And I was like, but God, you know, you need a little more time than just like 4 to 6 weeks to do this thing. This is a whole conference. And he was like, no, and he gave me the date. And I said, okay. I ran with it, pull off this 5-figure conference, and the room was sold out. We were, because the country was just opening back after COVID. So, you know, you had all the restrictions and stuff, but I pulled off this event, brought in international speaker, everything, and it was just amazing. And right in that conference, the Lord said to me, tell the ladies that you're going to be hosting a retreat. I was like, God, you know, I ain't never host this type of retreat for people like this. I've done corporate stuff, I've done church stuff, but this is a whole nother domain. And so I made the announcement about the retreat, and that retreat was called Global Luxurious Island Retreat in Barbados. So that would have been done. And let me tell you, the transformation was phenomenal. The ladies came down. There were women who were not able to speak well or articulate themselves well. They left here being able to be speakers. There were women who left, well, the virtual space, some of them were virtually connected, were offered promotions because of the visibility they got as speakers at the retreat and stuff like that. And then for 2023, I did a retreat again. It was also Global Luxurious Island Retreat. And the Lord said to me, in addition to this retreat, I want you to host a conference this weekend. And so this is a 5-day retreat that we're talking about, all inclusive. All
Wow.
inclusive. It is not a hotel retreat because I don't plan hotel retreats. My expertise is luxury. So if you're looking for that retreat in a secluded location where you're able to pour into the people that you're called to serve without the external noise, without the rules and restrictions, I'm the one that you're looking for to plan this. And so I would have done that retreat. Again, women came, we had the conference. People left with voices. People left and became authors. People launched businesses. And so the impact, and the funny thing about it is I didn't do the retreat this year in Barbados. I partnered with one of my former clients and we did a retreat in Bequia, which is one of the Caribbean islands just next door to us. And
Wow.
that was phenomenal in itself. I had women who would have left my event in September who ended up speaking at this event, yes, for the first time. And so when I look at the transformation that happens in retreat spaces, it makes it worth it for me. It is not just the luxury, it is not just an expensive vacation. There's transformation that happens in these spaces. Let me tell you something. When people come into that intimate space of a retreat, they cannot unexperience what you bring to the table
That's
if it
right.
is curated properly. They cannot unfeel, they cannot unhear, they cannot unsee. And so there's so much that you're able to walk away with from the retreat. And one of the most important parts that I help my clients with is to help them define what is the end goal, right? When people walk away from this experience, what are you hoping for? Is it just a fun girls trip? Or is it something more impactful? And so I've been able to successfully curate experiences that are not just a fun girl trip. Trust me, we have lots of fun because I'm a girl that just loves to have fun. All right. And so the retreat we did in Bequia, we had it was phenomenal. The
Wow.
property was sitting right there on the hills of with a view of the southern Grenadines, so you could see other
Wow.
islands. We actually had a trip planned to one of the private islands there, Mustique. Unfortunately, the ladies weren't able to go because I had a medical emergency that morning and they decided they were not going without me. I didn't tell them to
Oh,
stay back, but they made that decision as a team and they said, we're not leaving, Dr. D, we're not leaving. And they didn't go, but we had access to a private island. You can't just go on a private island like that. And
yeah.
so we had 5-star treatment. There was a private butler, private chef from Sweden. There was housekeepers. Everybody literally had somebody assigned to them. So you didn't have to go to iron your clothes, wash your clothes. People were coming in to take care of you every single day. We had a full turn down service. Every single day there were drinks and canapes by the pool. We had a beachside barbecue. We had a beach picnic. We had an island tour. It was a
Oh,
full experience in addition to the sessions that we had planned and structured. We had a welcome reception out of this world, and we had a private photo shoot. So we brought in a photographer who did some amazing, amazing shots with the ladies. We also had a makeup artist who traveled from mainland to come over and do these shoots for us. And so it was a phenomenal experience. You had ground transportation. Not, you didn't have to worry about anything. We traveled from the mainland. After we landed by flight, we would have gotten a private boat, not the ferry, to take us over. And so the experience was luxury from the get-go. Every day the ladies were getting gifts, and not just random gifts, gifts that spoke to their soul.
yeah.
Everybody said, wow, how did you know that I needed this? They had customized picture frames with quotes and stuff. They had
Very bespoke.
journals, books. So everything was practical. And again, this is what happens when you have God in the mix of everything. And it's
Yeah.
just an idea, but a vision for execution. So essentially what I do in a nutshell is that I take your event idea, transform it into a vision, and bring it into reality for the persons that you're called to serve.
Wow. And this is so wonderful. And you can see the passion and the expertise that you have because of your years of experience. But not only that, just you're following the divine download that you received. And it is a beautiful mission that you're on to transform and empower and uplift other women to grow beyond their current, you know, place where they are, where they want to
Mm-hmm.
expand and so forth. So your program, can you share a little bit about and you've walked the walk and you've talked the talk, and that's why all the women can feel so confident to work with you because of your years of experience in executing big accounts and personal growth in your own business. And just what you described here is just stunningly exciting to think that you know that it's possible. Many women dream that, but they don't necessarily realize it could be possible for them because they don't know how to go about it. So tell us a little bit about your program for them, what they can kind of expect so that they realize, wow, it might just be a dream in my head right now, but with Dr. D's help, I can actually make this come to be at some point. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe go a little bit over your program, and then let people know where they can find you so that they can research more about your work. And also, even if they want to just maybe come to one of your own events, right?
Sure.
That's also a possibility. There's so much that you have going
Sure.
on that they can be a part of. So go ahead, tell us a little bit about the program.
So first of all, let me say this. It is possible for you to do it, right? And you can decide how you want to do it. You can be do it yourself for Debbie, right? You could be cookie cutter Connie, or you could be like Darlene. Darlene is the one who's the delegator. She says, hey, I need help. Let me get on board with somebody who has the wisdom, knowledge, insight, and expertise, right? And so one of the things, as Tamara would have shared, I didn't just decide to do retreats for other people. I've tested it for myself. I've tasted and see that the Lord is good, right? And the results are phenomenal. And so you can do it on your own, trust me, but you're going to run into some hiccups there. You're going to run into some experiences. One of the things that happened with my client's retreat back in June, the concierge company that was renting us the property made a big boo-boo. And because I was there, I was able to buffer that for her. So it didn't take away from her time with her guests having to navigate an issue or go back and forth with the concierge. I was there to be the middleman, to handle it with ease, and that's what it does. It gives you that peace of mind because trust me, everything that could go wrong goes wrong. I had a
Mhm.
contingency plan for the contingency plan, and she was blown.
I love that.
She
Yeah.
was like, wow, I didn't even think about this. I was like, yeah,
Mhm.
because unless it is your area of expertise, unless you're gifted, there are a lot of things you don't think about, right? And
Yeah.
so one of the programs that I offer, this is not specifically the retreat program, however, but one of the programs that I currently offer is called Conference Catalyst. So you might be thinking about doing a retreat and not sure yet, right? You can start with a conference.
Yes.
And the conference catalyst is it goes in 4 phases. So we do the planning, we look at the vision, the overall vision for your event. If you're not sure, don't worry, I can help you come up with what the vision should be like based on your end game. So whatever your objective is, you might say to yourself, for instance, I have a client right now in that program who's saying to me, I just want to inspire people. And I said to her, hey, inspiration is good, but we got to push people beyond the point of inspiration into taking action. And so
Mhm.
that alone shifted her thought process. And I said to her, go back to God, because what you have right now is an idea. I want you to go to God and ask Him for the vision. And when God gives you the vision, we're going to execute this thing. And the very next morning, she came back and said, hey, God gave me the vision, and this is what it should look like. Right. So you may not understand what the vision should be for your event, and that's okay. That's where I come in and I help you to cast that vision. Then we're going to map out some strategic deadlines that need to be met, things that need to be done. Trust me, it's not just downloading a checklist from the internet. There's so many things that you need to consider. You have to be mindful of who you're putting in the space. So I'm going to help you to figure out who should be invited to the space. So specifically, who are you targeting with this event? One of the mistakes that a lot of people make with conferences even is that they just throw spaghetti on the wall and hopes that it sticks. But your event has to be targeted towards a specific audience. It doesn't matter if your heart is for women, what type of women you want to attract. It's just like coaching. You got to know who your ideal client is. So when you're looking at your events, you have to look at the segmented audience and say, hey, these are the people I want to target, because that's how you're going to get the best results, not just financially, but in terms of transformation. Who's more likely to take action and give me those transformative results? So we're going to look at those things. Then we're also going to look at how to select your venue. Budgeting is a big piece. You may not know how much money you need to spend on an event, but we reverse engineer things, and I help you to navigate with templates as well, so that you can keep track of not only your expenditure but your income for your event. All right. And so then we go through with the actual event execution. There's a VIP option if you want the support with on-site execution. And to answer your question, yes, I travel. And if your event is virtual, I can still be there for your on-site execution. And of course, there is follow-up support after your event. So we're going to do a postmortem to see, hey, what went well? How can it be improved? How can we put things in place for the next event? And we go from there. So this program is about 16 weeks, but it is going to blow your absolute mind.
I love this. Oh my goodness. You can just see it. How the idea to completion can happen. Just it's like listening to you, there's like no doubt. It's just gonna happen. It's like a no-brainer. It's absolutely going to happen. So I just love that. I'm gonna before we go in, what is the website? What is your website where they
Okay.
can find you?
So you can find information about me on www.dionnegraves.com. That's my first name, last name.com. But you can also find me on Facebook at Dr. Dionne Greaves. Come into my DMs and we can have a conversation. I can give you a link where we can have a quick call to discuss what your idea is. Now, this is not a call for me to sell you anything. This is not a call for you to get a consultation about anything. It's a quick connect conversation to see what you have in mind and what I can offer to help you. And enrollment is currently open for Conference Catalyst. It is a group coaching program. However, it's going to be a very intimate setting. All right. If you want to have one-on-one support, there is a VIP option that allows you to be able to access that as well.
Ah, I love everything. And everyone, please check out her website because there's so much more that she is doing, from your book to your own conferences to you are just you're just a mega power. I just love your energy, your vivaciousness, your expertise. everything translates as total success, and that's why I'm so proud to interview you. Really, this is a
Thank you
real
so
treat for
much.
me. I want to go ahead and switch gears now.
Sure.
um, so many of us are very soul-based entrepreneurs, and we really do seek our higher power to get those answers. And you've spoken about this a number of times just in our conversation so far. You and I both know we believe wholeheartedly in the divine download and to create space to be able to hear it. Um,
Hmm.
can you talk a little bit to, we'll get into the success questions, but I thought this was a great way to go into it.
Hmm.
Can you give some advice, women, whatever their spiritual connection is, but they can feel that they want to get a deeper, robust, authentic sense that they are on track, on purpose, and they can't feel it in their own noise, the noise of the day, the noise of their minds going. What's your suggestion for them to kind of get into that open receiving so that they can be quiet and hear what's best for them to come into their being when they're not sure what to do, no matter what it might be?
So my source is God, right? I can't speak for anybody else's source. I can tell you what works for me as it relates to my source. My divine power source is God. And so I sit with him on a daily basis, right? I get up in the wee hours of the morning and I spend time with him. I don't get up to pray, I get up to listen.
Oh, I love
And a
that.
lot of times we spend so much time talking that we miss out opportunities for growth and develop in our spiritual relationship with Jesus because we don't listen. And so I spend strategic time sitting with him. I also am very intentional about having moments throughout my day to do nothing, where I unplug from business, I unplug from being a mom, I unplug from being a wife. I literally just do nothing. And that allows me to reset, especially on my busiest days, to be able to hear clearly. Now, the thing about it with me, I've always heard from God. From a child, I've been hearing from him, right? So I hear him like, just like how you and I are here talking, that's how we talk. We have that type of relationship. So if you find that you are struggling in the area of hearing, sensing, or feeling, to know that you're on the right path, you got to stop and take a pregnant pause for a good cause.
Mm,
All right. That's it.
I
You
so
got to
believe that.
stop. That's it.
Yes.
Don't
Yes.
go asking for anything. A lot of times we go, Father God, I want you to do this, and stop, look, listen.
Yes.
That's it. And be intentional about that. You don't have to sit with him for 2 and 3 hours. But
Right.
just be intentional about that time. Understand the intent. The intent is to sit here with him and to hear and to sense and to feel. And trust me, he always speaks. We just got to be listening.
I love what you just said about the pause because it's uncomfortable at first. I've had this experience where it felt like, oh, if I take the afternoon off, or I couldn't find my motivation. It was like something was making me pause, stop. And, at first the ego mind is like, oh, but you have so much to do. You shouldn't do, blah, blah, blah.
But you see,
And I
and I
just,
don't want to interject here, but I felt the need to share this. When you are hustling,
yeah,
you will feel pressed to keep going.
yes,
When you are
yes.
aligned, you understand alignment is on another level. So when you
Mm,
are aligned, you can take that pause. You can give yourself permission to refuel,
mm-hmm.
to catch yourself, and allow things to come back into alignment. Sometimes you just need that 1 degree shift. You just need that reset moment, and it makes a difference. Right?
It
Just last
does.
month, and I was sharing this with Tamara recently. Just last month, I took 10 days of doing nothing. Nothing, just filling my cup intentionally, right?
Mm-hmm.
Drinking tea, enjoying tea. This is the first time in 40 years I've been drinking tea. But I was drinking tea, sitting and listening to music, like literally taking time out to smell the roses. And let me tell you something, there's power in alignment. And when you are on your divine assignment, you need to have alignment. This is what is going to make you stand out from everybody else out there. This is what is going to make you to be a catalyst of transformation apart from everybody else out there. Because guess what? Everybody else is out there hustling.
Yeah, so true. And I want to just that point, when you first have that uncomfortable feeling, if you're not used to being quiet and waiting to hear, it's, you don't know what to do with it. I can tell you from experience, when I first was trying to fight against it, like, no, I have too much to do. And I let it go and I sat in it, and it was the most business breakthroughs I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
Clarity, alignment,
Mm-hmm.
total conviction. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my goodness, or oh my God, how did I not know this before? It was easily understood, felt, it wasn't complicated, and it was quick. I remember we spoke, I was on the meditation mat and I said, God, I love my business so much, but I feel like there's something more. I just can't
Mm-hmm.
figure out what it is. Please help me. It was like in 4 seconds, I got the answer. And it was like, oh, of course. So the pause doesn't have to be long, but you have to be willing to be quiet and be open, right?
Sit
And
still.
trust.
A
Yes.
lot of us
I love
are
that.
afraid to sit still because we
Yeah.
are afraid to spend that time with
Yeah.
ourselves. And the truth is, when you spend time in solitude, not
Mm-hmm.
isolation, but solitude, you'll be surprised at what you're gonna discover. Because he always speaks. He always speaks. We just gotta tap in and
Absolutely.
listen. Yeah.
And so if any of you are feeling that urge that you just want to have the afternoon off or the hour or whatever it might be, follow that intuition. Your
Mm-hmm.
intuition is guiding you because there's something more for you. It's not, it is the exact opposite of a wasted moment. It is going to fulfill in so many more ways than your busy work could ever do for you. So just I love that we really got on that. That's a good way to start this success questions, because in the end, that's really the whole of it, right? To
Mm-hmm.
be in alignment, and the alignment comes when you are willing to quiet yourself and really feel what is meant for you. So, and you'll know it. So you'll know it,
Yes.
like there will not be any doubt. It's sort of like when you're falling in love, you just know that's the one for you. It's just like, Okay, on to the success question. So, okay, let's see. What I wanted to ask you is, building a business is one of the most empowering things I feel that a woman can do for herself. Can you share why you feel more empowered because you created your own business, and how would you encourage other women to do the same? What empowerment can they expect from growing their business?
So a little backstory. From the age of 12, I knew I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know that was the word, but I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur because I grew up in a neighborhood here in Barbados where everybody had menial jobs. And let me put a pregnant pause here to say I am not discrediting anybody's legal form of employment, but I'm just saying I grew up, most of the ladies in the neighborhood were either unemployed or they were cashiers, gas attendants, domestic workers, those types of things. And they worked really, really hard, but they didn't have a lot of time to spend with their kids because they were always at work, right? And there were not many people owning their own businesses back then. And so we would have like maybe a shopkeeper, maybe a taxi guy, maybe somebody who did vehicle repairs. That was about it for businesses. And so being a business owner was a thing of prestige back then. It was something kind of reserved for a certain group of people. And so I knew I didn't want to be bogged down with this way of life. And so from the age of 12, I knew I wanted to be this entrepreneur. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. And I was told, go to school, learn, get a good job, and that's it. That was the model that was given for me. And so I decided, all right, let me become a pediatrician. And so, as you can see, my path to becoming a pediatrician did not work out, right? Because we didn't have the resources for me to pursue medicine. And so I had my first job at 16 where I was a teacher, a volunteer preschool teacher, before I transitioned into doing private work with kids. And then I got into the event space around the age of 18. I also, at the same time I got into the event space, I went into administration as well. And so those are two very big skill sets that I have. And so the journey of entrepreneurship for me was pretty much delayed because I felt it was impossible based on the financial circumstances that I would have come up with. It would never, ever be possible for me to own my own business. As a matter of fact, back then, owning your own business was pretty delusional,
Mm.
right? It was not meant for me. I was told it was not for me. And so I spent the first few years of my life fighting this thing, trying to fit into this model that was created for me to get this job. And when I was good at my job, I was not happy. Was not happy. And so in 2020, when the world had the biggest crisis that we all know about, God literally made it happen. And the precursor to this, to be quite honest with you, was when my son was born in 2018. Because when I was faced with the decision, I was working in corporate again, I was faced with this decision of having to go back to work and leave my young son. And I did not want to do that. And before that happened, because he's my son by way of adoption, the company said to me, you cannot have maternity leave because you did not birth him. And so in that moment, I made a decision. I am going to take time off with my son because he was coming home directly from the hospital to me. So there's nobody else is going to be caring for him. I will be home with him. So I said to them, I am leaving. When I come back, y'all can decide what y'all gonna do, but I'm going on leave. And so they had a
Yeah.
meeting and they decided up in Denver, okay, we're gonna give her the time off with pay. And so I had maternity leave. And then when it was time to go back to work, I felt this tug, this desire. And I said, you know what? I've been playing it small my whole life and I want to show my son something different. And so God gave me the idea to start a vision board company, which I did with a couple of friends. And we were doing these vision boarding events for a time until COVID happened. And then we had to shut down shop in that regard. But during that period of 2020, where the world was in uproar, I got my greatest clarity. Because God said to me, I want you to start this business, and this time I want you to do it alone. You're not taking anybody with you. This is what I want you to do. And so somebody approached me in the online space to coach me. And this was the first time I heard about coaching in this regard. And he said to me, you know, what are you good at? And I said, well, I help people with, you know, ideas and stuff. And he asked me to expound. And when I did, he was like, so you could be a business coach. I was like, me? I can't be a business coach. And what he didn't know is that God had already spoken to me 2 years prior to say that I would be a hub for business. And so I went into business coaching. I thought I needed to certify, so I did a life coaching certification, but it was not the area where it was called to serve. It was really business. And every time I kept trying to play small, God was just amplifying my presence. And so I started my business August 2020. And by the end of that year, I had already made the Global 500 list of entrepreneurs. By the
Wow.
end of that year, I was already having publications and stuff going out, things that I did not go looking for. God literally put what he placed on my life, he put it on steroids. And then
Wow.
2021, it took off. I wrote my first chapter in a book project. And so it looked like this thing was not making sense.
Yeah.
Because logically my journey does not make sense. And so to you who may be wondering, you know, this sounds all fine and good, but I know this can't work for me. You don't have to go looking to do something else, because what God did with me was this. He told me to use what you have. And I said, God, I don't have anything. He said, use what you have. And he left me with it. And I was upset. I said, but God, you're giving me all of these ideas and I don't have any money. He said, use what you have. And one day it hit me and it was like a real eureka moment. And I said, oh my God, I got it. I got it. I got it. And it was, look, use your knowledge, skills, and expertise. And then further down the line, he showed me, look, there's some life experiences that you've had as well that you can monetize. And so this is how it started for me. So if you are saying to yourself, how do I get started in my journey as an entrepreneur? Use what you have. It is not too late. Use what you have. You may have been told in school, just like me, she's too talkative. I tell people, no, I get paid to speak, right? You may think, you know, I've been through some type of trauma. Yes, I could have been the poster child for trauma, because guess what? I got a lot of trauma that I would have dealt with in my lifetime. But use that as a catalyst to live the life that God has called you to fulfill your divine assignment. And those are things that you're able to monetize without having to go learn something new. Everything that you need is already inside of you. You got to trust God to give you the vision for execution. So that's what I wanted to share.
Oh, wow. God. I mean, just amazing. It's like you are so captivating. I cannot like I'm mesmerized by you. Everything you say is so spot on. And I know all of you beautiful women out there are feeling it the way I'm feeling it as well. And I think I'm just going to go a little bit rogue with my questions because
No
you just
problem.
bringing it.
I'm a
I
rogue too,
wanted
so
to
let's
ask
go.
you, I love what you said about like a lot of times we tend to play small because we don't know, we just stretch a tiny bit from what we used to be. And I don't think a lot of us realize we can stretch a whole lot. We just assume it has to be these little baby steps and we lack maybe the confidence or we just think it's too grandiose. How do you get out the the typical woman business owner that would love the big dreams to come, but she's really at the starting point where it feels like, just her little beautiful baby business that she's starting. How do you have her gain that confidence and believe that she really can? Because we know that it happens. We see the big successes out there. We know that it's possible. But yet we always think it's for somebody else. It's not for me. That's for because they have some special gift or they're young or they're pretty or they're this or they have the connections or they're in the right location. And we try and talk ourselves out of that. How do you get in front of that? Now, I know you have a very strong, deep connection with God, and I know that's what it ultimately is about, and I understand that. But for maybe someone who's not as even involved soulfully, spiritually connected, what can they do to kind of be able to bring in that confidence and that bigger vision for themselves? What do they have to do to get there?
So let me tell you how it is. And as usual, I always have a little story, and I promise I'm going to keep it short, ladies. So I have not always been like this. Like I mentioned just before, I've been through so much trauma that it shocked my confidence. I had none. None, however you want to spell none, I had none, none. And so what I realized, God took me on a journey of self-discovery. And it's not enough to know the characteristics of who you are, but you got to do a real deep soul check to understand the depths of who you are. So God took me on this journey of self-discovery where I was able to not only discover my characteristics and my traits, but to understand my giftings and my abilities and really who he says I am. And so when he took me on that journey, it opened up a brand new world for me. And I realized, you know what? I have so much more than I even imagined. Because if you're growing up hearing people saying you're not going to be anything good, you ain't gonna turn out to be anything, it it clouds your ability to see who you really are. And one of the things that I'm going to tell you, if anybody at any stage in your life has told you that you're not enough, that's not true. The truth is you are so much more than they want you to be, which is why they've already told you that you're not enough. So they may say you're not tall enough, you're not slim enough, you're not this. It is something that was spoken to you to speak to a deficit in your life that has caused you to question who you are. And so he took me on a journey of self discovery. Then I went through self affirmation, self empowerment, and I went through internal validation. And I want you to listen carefully. Every one of us have a desire. There's an innate desire for external validation. We want people to applaud us. We want people to say it. It doesn't matter if you're confident or not. Every one of us have an innate desire for that validation, right? It is not necessary. You have to get to a point in your journey where you're able to internally validate your moves. Because what happens is if you tell what you want to do to the wrong person, they're going to tell you, well, it's not possible. They're going to project their fears and concerns on you, and it's going to hinder you. And so I had to come to a point where I started to validate my moves internally in collaboration with the Holy Spirit. And again, yes, it all goes back to God and my relationship. I can't help that, right? I had to validate. So when God gave me a vision for something, I didn't go and tell everybody, well, hey, I was thinking, I don't ever ask nobody for opinion first. I don't ever come and say, okay, unless it's my husband, because by default, I ain't got no choice. But I would not go here and say, I am thinking to do X, Y, Z. What is your opinion? Why? An opinion is like a bottom. Everybody has one. They come in all shapes and sizes, right? What does that mean? It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
It don't
Mm-hmm.
matter. So you
That's
have
right.
to be able to internally validate your moves in collaboration with the Holy Spirit. And so it comes through self-empowerment. Once you understand the depths of who you are and you become self-empowered, and I start with the I am, because when I look at the word of God, he talks about himself and he says, I am. There's a power in affirming I am. And so I started to speak those affirmations over my life. And that is what would have built up my confidence to bring me to a place of being able to be who I am today. So when I work with women like you, they're all high achieving women. I'm telling you, they're all great at what they do. They have the experience, they have the knowledge, they have the wisdom. They just need help navigating these next level transitions. And this is where I come in to help them to do it with clarity, confidence, courage, and a game plan. Because what happens is the battle of the mind is where they get paralyzed. And so
Yeah.
being their number one cheerleader is what helps. So if you are in a position where, hey, I know I should be doing more, I don't feel as confident, get you a number one cheerleader. You don't need a whole squad. You just need one person outside of you, one person outside of God to believe in you and to remind you and to hold you accountable that you can get the job done.
I love this so much, and it makes me want to ask you one question. So everything you said is spot on. But I think sometimes, as we're growing and when we're maybe not so self-aware, it's possible that we make occasional mistakes, for small, medium, large, it doesn't matter. And then we sort of start to think, well, I made this big mistake, and how can I trust myself? Can you speak to maybe mistakes? We've all made them. I think that personally they're part of the territory. My personal feeling is they strengthen you and smarten you up, and it's part of your journey, and they're not a bad thing. It's a blessing in disguise. You just find the silver lining. But sometimes it's hard, for especially if someone's just going through it now, like maybe they made a mistake that they're really kicking themselves for, and they're more caught up with that, shaming themselves rather than seeing maybe that big vision for themselves, which they would love to, but now they're all caught up in their own bad emotions. So any suggestions for how they can maybe cope better with that, have a different perspective on that? Because it happens to every single one of us, ladies. We all make the wrong mistakes. We invest in the wrong thing. We chose maybe the different business model when we first started and changed it 300 times before it felt right. To me, these are just failing forward moments, but it takes a while until you can find grace for yourself to have those moments. But I would love to hear your perspective on that, so women don't get caught up in the mistakes and can focus more on the vision forward.
So that's a great question. And I can answer that because guess what? At the end of last year, my business went pretty much bankrupt because of a bad investment, because of somebody that I trusted. And so, yes, I kicked myself solid in the butt saying, I should have known better. I should have
Mhm.
done differently. How could I be so naive? How could I be so blind? How could I be so bamboozled? How could I allow myself? And what made it more difficult was the fact that, hey, I flow in the prophetic. I usually see things happening in other people's life. Why did I miss this? Right.
Yeah.
And funny enough, we had this conversation yesterday. I had this conversation with somebody yesterday. Forgiveness,
Mm,
not just of the person who's offended you, because some of us are good at doing that, but we don't forgive ourselves.
yeah,
And in
that's a
forgiving
tougher one.
ourselves, we have to own our truth, right? We have to take ownership of our role in the situation, acknowledge it, and be okay with it, right? And we also have to take it to God again and ask for grace to navigate this thing. Do not isolate. Find a confidant. Ask God to show you who should I confide in. I know some of the mistakes may feel super embarrassing. You don't want to tell anybody, but there's a safe space out here for you, and God will lead you to that person. You probably have that person in your life already. You got to trust them. Lean into them. Acknowledge you need that support. Acknowledge your feelings. Honor your feelings throughout the process, because trust me, you're going to go through, I can't tell you 5 stages of grief. You're going to go through several stages of grief
Yeah.
as you
Hmm.
navigate this thing. Like I said, it's been a year for me. And up to early this month, I was grappling with this thing because I was so upset that I allowed this thing to happen. You
Hmm.
understand? But I had to
Mhm.
come to the point, and I do have a business bestie, my business biz, I call her. And I said to her, hey, because at first I wasn't talking to her about it. I said, I felt like we had talked about it 50, 11 times. And I said to her, I couldn't talk to you about this because I feel like we've already talked about this. I felt like we beat it over the head already. I felt like you've already answered these things and I knew the answers. And you know what she said to me? We're going to talk about it as long as is necessary for it not to be a trigger for you anymore. And that's the
Oh,
kind of person you need when you're navigating these things, not somebody to judge you because you already recognize you've made a mistake,
mhm.
and to see it as a learning lesson that you can leverage to build a great future. It was not meant to define you. It was meant to refine you, redirect
Oh,
you, and repurpose you, because your
oh,
next level requires so much more. And what you're going to realize as well is that some of these biggest challenges or failures, as some people will call it, they actually happen at the peak time when God is about to elevate us. So there's a
yes.
reason why it has to happen, right? It's not comfortable, but it is necessary. And so, yes, I am building my business back from scratch. Thank God, for how things worked out, because what happened to me at the end of last year, if it happened at this point this year, it would have been more catastrophic. And so we just got to thank God for what we miss and for what He's aligned us for. And so find somebody that you can confide in who is a safe space for you, not to judge you, where you can heal and where you
Mm,
can be honest with your emotions, because as high achieving women, we struggle with that. We are safe
mm,
havens for people. We are the go-to people for everybody. We're the problem solvers. We're the fixers. We are the saviors. And the
yes.
fact there was
Yes.
only one, so you can be the savior. So stop saving people.
Yes.
You gotta have somebody in your corner who can be that for you, because every encourager needs an encourager, every empowerer needs an empowerer, every coach needs a
Mm.
coach, every mentor needs a mentor, and the list goes on. So that's all I wanted to say.
Mic drop. Oh my God. You are preach. That's all I can say. And yes, rejection is redirection,
Yes,
right?
please.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh. Beautiful. I mean, wow. I'm just, oh, goodness. I could talk to you all day. This is amazing. Okay. I'm going to narrow it down to two more questions. So this is a little bit maybe more concrete answer, but what is your number one professional tip for women to grow their businesses when they're first starting?
Well, the first thing I would tell you, don't outsource anything. A lot of people automatically believe as soon as I start a business, I need to hire a VA, I need to get somebody to do this, and you get somebody to do that. Do not outsource immediately. I want you to sit with this thing and understand your business, because once you start from really understanding how things operate, then you can know where you need to delegate.
Yes.
Now, if graphics is definitely not your strong suit, it might be good to invest in a graphics person. But do you really need a VA as soon as you start out? So sit down with it a little bit, get to feel it, get to really understand how it works, so that when you're investing money in outsourcing stuff, it makes sense for your business and you're not easily tricked into things that you should not even have to pay for, right? You understand the ins and outs well enough that if somebody that you've hired to do a job is not executing it well enough, you're not blindsided. So that's one of my tips that I share with my clients when it comes to growing your business in the initial stages.
I
Also,
love that.
get you
Yeah.
a coach. Get you a coach, get
Yes.
you a consultant, somebody who has done what it is that you're looking to do. And let me tell you something. If you're looking, for instance, if you're looking to start your speaker career, do not run and jump into a John Maxwell program. Look for somebody who is just a few steps ahead of you,
Yes.
because we like to chase clout and prestige, right? Make it make sense. Find somebody who's just a little ways ahead of you, so it lessens that learning curve. If you want to
Beautiful.
coach, find a coach who is selling programs at a price point that works for you right now, in terms of they don't have 100K programs and 10K programs yet, because you're not there, and therefore your success is not going to be anything in comparison to what they're doing, because you're going to want those results. So make
Yes.
it make sense when you start out. So that's my response.
Ah, yes. I mean, that is beautiful advice and so super practical and it's perfect because, my family, that my grandfather owned restaurants and he knew the front of the house, the back of the house. He was the cook, he was the this, that, and you have to. In fact, you should want to. If it's your dream business, you should want to know every nook and cranny of your
Mhm.
business. And then you can decide what you're best at, what is better to maybe delegate. But also it gives you that sense of independence because if there is a moment in your business where you have someone leaves and what you don't know what to do, you got clients that are depending on you. Well, you don't want to be a deer in headlights. You want to know enough that you can still make your business run. And that only comes when you're independent in it. And so I love this advice. It's practical. And I also love what you're saying about the coaching. Absolutely. A coach will get you so much farther than you think that you can do on your own. And it doesn't have to be, like you said, some big high ticket coach. Start where you are and also what makes sense for you. And the same thing I always say about pricing as well. You can only price your programs at a spot in your mind that you are not rejecting. It's a little bit of a stretch, but not so much that you don't believe it because it's all about a ladder step up and that is
Mhm.
about growth. It's not like just okay, you start here and then you're a Super Bowl hero, in a day. That's not how it works. Everybody has their ladder to climb no matter what
Correct.
business, whether you're working for corporate or you're an athlete or a singer or a movie star or your business owner. We all start somewhere. So great, great, great practical tip. Okay, my last question for you. And this is beautiful because your big visions are so inspiring, but what is your big vision for your business?
Woo! So I spent this year kind of rebranding some stuff with my business. So if you look at the screen, you may see the Mompreneur CEO. That's how it would have started out because I was a mom, entrepreneur, CEO in corporate. And so God has now expanded the vision. And so my business is transitioning into global enterprises. And global enterprises encompasses my retreats, the magazine that I would have launched as well, podcast, all of my endeavors pretty much so, and also my TV show, which will be coming back out as well, rebranding. And so the vision for this business, there's also a nonprofit site that will be launched because one of my biggest dreams yet is to launch a nonprofit foundation in South Africa where I can provide support, entrepreneurship, academic support for moms, for women who want to launch businesses. Because one thing I know, if women take their position in society in the way that they should, and they are equipped for that, we're going to get some places because women are geniuses. They're innovative, they're creative, they're successful, they make things happen. And so if they have access to funding, if they have access to resources, if they have access to all the information they need, there's so much more we can do in the entrepreneurship landscape. So that is one of my biggest visions yet.
Yes, I love it. And we know for a fact it's happening
Bet your
because if
bottom
it is,
dollar.
yeah, if it's been put in your heart, it is meant for you. There is no doubt, right? I love this.
Correct.
Okay, and one last time before we sign off, where can all of these beautiful women listening find you and learn more about all your amazing work?
The best place to find me is on Facebook. Yes, I am on Instagram. I'm also on LinkedIn and I do have a website. But if you really want to get in touch with me as a person, you want to see a bit more, not only about my business, but my lifestyle, come over to Facebook and follow me, connect with me, friend me at Dr. Dionne Greaves. That's the best place for us to connect. And of course, if you are brave enough, meet me in the DMs and let's have a chat.
I love it. And your website, just for the
www.dionnegraves.com. That's my first name, last name.com.
perfect. Well, I don't think that I have to tell you how like inspired and mesmerized and just elevated and just you have made my life better just being in your presence. I know anyone who's listening or watching this will feel the same exact self power and just excitement for their own world to evolve because you really do set a beautiful fun, enjoyable way of them getting to understand themselves better, their businesses better, what their missions in life are for and meant for. And I just can't thank you enough. This has really just been truly inspiring to share this time with you. So thank you so much.
Thank
And
you for having me.
oh, my pleasure. So, all of you beautiful women out there, listen to this episode again and again and again and just feel the inspiration, receive it. What we said, take the pause and receive all of this beautiful message. And I just know that it will help you with the clarity that you're looking for the motivation that you might need because you got a little wobbly, whatever's going on, just trust and listen and ask and receive and use this beautiful interview as inspiration. And just think about all the great things that are waiting you in your business, especially those of you who want to hold conferences and retreats. I think we found our lady, our beautiful woman who can help you make that all come to be. So please reach out to Dr. D, and I will see you on the next beautiful success story. So keep going for your dreams. Bye for now.